Am I the antagonist for not letting my sibling use my computer? So my, female 14 years old, older half-brother, male 34 years old, is currently trying to apply for jobs because his current job is in his field, but not at the level he wants to be at. However, the applications for what he's trying to apply for, a paramedic firefighter position, what our dad did for 26 years, requires the resume to be made and the application filled out through Microsoft Word. My brother has a MacBook that doesn't have Word, and his wife has the same thing. My dad doesn't have a computer and my mom has another MacBook. But my dad, male 58 years old, got me a gaming laptop for Christmas, and I absolutely love it. I use it for everything and prefer it to using my phone whenever possible. So most of my friends, both online and in real life, message me through Discord, and I'm a part of a few servers. Because it's a gaming laptop, it runs on Windows. So because of this, my dad wants to let my brother use my laptop to fill out his application and resume. But the thing is, I don't have the full version of Word and only have the, currently unused, free trial available that I've been saving for a day when I need it for a school assignment or college application. But him using my free trial isn't even my main issue. My main issue is that when my brother comes over to use my computer, it's probably going to be while I'm at school, and I can't be sure that he's only accessing that one part of my computer. I think it's also important to note that I barely know my brother. He's 20 years older than me and has only lived in the same city as me in the past year. We do not have the same bond as I do with my sister. If it had been her asking, I would have just silenced my Discord notifications so she couldn't see my texts pop up but otherwise leave it alone. But with my brother, I am not nearly comfortable with him to let him have unfiltered access to my laptop and all of my files, search history, texts, and everything else. But when I told my dad this, he told me I was being an asshole and I needed to let my brother borrow my laptop because he's family and has been going through a rough patch. So, am I the asshole? It's understandable that your brother is facing challenges in his job search, but it's completely valid for you to prioritize your own privacy and boundaries with your laptop. Your dad means well, but it's okay to politely stand your ground and suggest alternative solutions to support your brother without compromising your comfort level. Am I the antagonist for telling my sibling they should listen to the therapist who advised them to wait a few more years and live apart? My sister and her children have been going to therapy for the past 4 months. My sister lost her husband 3 years ago and started dating again 2 years ago. Now she's engaged to a guy named Kev, and he's living with her and the kids. The children are 11, 8, and 7 years old. My sister had this idea that the kids would be excited to have another man around and would see him as a father figure or a bonus dad. Kev seems like a decent guy from what I know. However, the older 2 kids remember their dad well, he was the stay-at-home parent, and the youngest, who was 4 when his dad passed away, also has some memories of him. It's not easy for them to accept Kev being there. The kids distanced themselves from my sister after she told them she was dating someone, and they were reserved when they met Kev. Despite this, my sister and Kev moved in together and got engaged. My sister realized that the kids were avoiding spending time with her and Kev, so she decided they needed therapy together. The kids were not enthusiastic about spending time with them and would often isolate themselves in their rooms when not out with friends. They were not interested in bonding with Kev. My sister started therapy with them to address the issues. During therapy, the kids opened up about their struggles with their mom being with Kev. They expressed that they would rather be left behind than continue with how their mom was moving forward with Kev. They were fearful that Kev would try to replace their dad and didn't want him to take on a parental role. After 3 months of therapy, the therapist advised my sister to live separately from Kev, delay getting married for a few more years, and focus on her role as a mother to the kids. The therapist believed this would be better for the children and could lead to a positive relationship with Kev in the future. My sister was upset by this advice and vented to me about it. She asked for my opinion, and I agreed with the therapist's recommendation based on a similar experience with family friends, where rushing into a new marriage had negative effects on the children. My sister was angry with my response and told me to encourage her to follow her heart. Am I the asshole? Am I the antagonist for supporting the therapist's advice over my sister's desires? It sounds like you were looking out for the well-being of your sister's children by supporting the therapist's advice, which is important in such a delicate situation. It's understandable that your sister may be upset, but ultimately prioritizing what's best for the kids in the long run is key. Am I the antagonist for not wanting to go to a party? I, 16 years old female, have been refusing to attend my high school's freshman party. This party has no association with the school itself besides being hosted by senior students. These type of parties overwhelm me with loud noise, lights, a lot of people talking, and honestly they're quite boring to me. Despite my discomfort, I usually attend to appease my friends, but this year I decided to stand up for myself and say I didn't want to go. However, my best friend, 16 years old female, that I've known since we were around 8 or 7 years old, believes I refuse to go because apparently I'm not her friend anymore. At least I don't act like it, and that I only hang out with my new friends. It's worth noting that my friend and I attend the same high school, but she's a year ahead due to different entry times. Last year I've always invited her to hang out and spend time, but most of the time she was busy studying. And I understood because the school was known for being really demanding from the students. That year I made new friends and grew closer to old ones at a way less demanding school. This year, upon entering her school, my schedule became chaotic, leaving weekends as my only free time. When I invited my friend to hang out, she often declined due to her own commitments, while my other friends were usually more available. As a result, I spent more time with them, unintentionally distancing myself from her. I hoped that at school we would see each other more, but she barely made an effort to see me there. I was the one to reach out many of the times. When I declined the party invitation, she accused me of neglecting our friendship, using my refusal as proof of it, and it was in front of everyone, that made me embarrassed and uncomfortable. It wasn't the first time she made something similar, and even though she used a joking tone, I knew she was being serious and was angry. Despite explaining my discomfort with the parties, she insisted I attended. I somewhat understand why she's feeling like that, especially considering her struggles with mental health and self-worth. While I empathize with her and understand that it's difficult, I don't understand why she lashes out at me. Though our friendship has become somewhat distant because we don't hang out as much and don't have as much time, I still love her a lot. I make an effort to see her when I can, but it's clear that she feels neglected and replaced. Am I being an asshole for not just going to the party just to get over with all this and maintain the peace? You are not being an asshole for standing up for your own comfort and boundaries, especially when it comes to attending events that overwhelm you. It's important to communicate openly with your friend about how you feel and reassure her of your friendship, even if it means navigating through some difficult conversations. Remember, taking care of yourself and being true to your feelings is crucial in any relationship, and compromising your well-being for the sake of maintaining peace may not always be the best solution in the long run. Am I the antagonist for ruining someone's special day? I, 46-year-old female, like giant pandas. For my birthday this year, I flew to Atlanta to see the only giant pandas in the United States. I arrived 10 minutes before the zoo opened and waited in line. When the gates opened, the couple in front of me stopped, blocking the entrance, to take a selfie. There were many people behind them that had to wait for them. I have mobility issues and hurt my wrist trying not to fall. After I got my ticket, I went straight to the panda area and wiped down the glass where the one panda was eating. The glass fogs up and you can't see anything until it gets wiped down. I know this and had brought a microfiber cloth with me. The panda was eating bamboo right near the glass, about 1 foot away from me. It was a magical experience. You couldn't see anything except for the area right in front of me that I had wiped. The whole rest of the view was totally obscured. Since I know about the glass fog issues, I share my cloth. I also share basic tips about how to take photos to minimize glare and reflections. I do panda research and I answer questions. It's a lot of fun for me to interact with others as we enjoy these magnificent animals together. The same couple from the selfie at the gate incident arrived at the panda area. I can't stand for long, mobility issues. So I have a cane that converts to a chair and I was sitting at the part of the glass where I was wiping the fog away. The woman comes up behind me and demands that I move so she can take a photo. I was in shock, but I tried to move a little. Again, mobility issues in a cane chair. It's not easy. She proceeds to threaten me with what amounts to permanent physical injury if I didn't move completely out of her way immediately. At this point, it was only this couple and me in the panda viewing area, and I was scared. I was already hurt by their entitled attitude at the gate. I was shaking and said no, and asked where her microfiber cloth was. Again, I always happily offer to share mine. But I didn't feel helpful to someone who was threatening to cripple me and make it even harder for me to walk. She finally left me alone. The guy said, "Thanks for making my girlfriend cry." And as I was still shaking, I just said, "You too." They seemed unable to figure out what they had done that was so wrong. Finally, some other people came into the panda area, and I felt safer from this rude, entitled couple. It took about an hour for me to calm down, all while wiping down the glass for me and for others, and doing my usual watching pandas with other people activities. I wanted to talk to this couple in a safe environment to clear the air, but I don't think they ever returned to the panda area. It's a shame for them because the pandas that day were amazing and they could have had a wonderful time, and we could have shared in the thrill of watching this magnificent animal. They had come a long way to see the pandas. Am I the jerk for ruining their experience? You were not in the wrong for standing up for yourself in a situation where your well-being was at risk, especially considering your mobility issues. It's unfortunate that the couple's experience was impacted, but your safety and comfort should always come first when faced with such disrespectful behavior. Am I the antagonist if I run away from a friend I've known for 10 years because they told me I was possessive? I am a 30-year-old with a small network of friends. Despite my best efforts, I find it hard to meet new people. My friend invites me to parties where her friends are present, but it's not by having a party for a few hours that you exchange your contact details with someone. So I'm in a situation where I depend on my friend to meet people. At one point, I try to ask my friend if she can add me to the messenger group so that I can be in the conversation loops independently of her, but to no avail. She tells me it's not her place to impose my presence on her friends. I started to get depressed because I was sending invitations and people ghosting. When they saw me in the street and invited me, even though they ghosted me, I was emotional and would leave during the evening alone to cry about how hard it is to meet people. I shared with my friend about my difficulty. She told me that it was very hard for her to hear all this from me because she's having a hard time herself, but she's willing to help. We agreed to try to see each other once a week, alone or with friend, and that we'd set a time at the beginning of the week to see each other. In exchange, I had to respect her limits when she asked me to. Things didn't get any better. I saw my friend from time to time, but she was becoming more absent. She told me that her work was taking up a lot of her time and she had no time for herself. I decided to volunteer at the events she worked. She appreciated. I found out later that she was going out with her friends and wasn't inviting me, even though she had told me at the beginning of the week that she was too tired. I kept this to myself. After she said no, I told her she wasn't respecting what we'd agreed. She told me that I wasn't respecting her limit. I tell her lame excuses for over 3 months, and now she should be respecting me. From then on, I left. I apologized later. Later, I went to an event, and I made sure that my friend wasn't there. When I arrived, one of the friends asked me to leave because what I'm doing is unacceptable. I'm a possessive man who wants to possess and demand that responds to my requests. He tells me that they've seen all my messages and that proves their point. Nothing to do, I leave to go. People at work saying they knew what had happened. I talked with my friend. I tell her that what hurts me in the story is that she's telling everyone about my personal situation, saying that I'm a possessive man, and that she's destroyed my reputation with several people. She tells me that the reason the friends don't want to see me is because at certain parties I go crying. She told me that we could still be friends, but things would have to change. After that, I didn't get in touch with her. I have Asperger's. My friend is aware of my situation, and she has come to see my therapist. The time we gave each other rules to act and the last time. It sounds like you've been trying your best to navigate social situations and communicate your needs. It's important to prioritize your well-being and boundaries, and it might be helpful to have open discussions with your friend about your feelings and concerns. Am I the antagonist for never asking my wealthy in-laws to invite my siblings or immediate family on our big vacations? My spouse and I have been married for about 8 years now. I had a pretty generic middle-class upbringing, while her family would be considered old money. I have no idea how much wealth they actually have, but it's multi-generational, and needless to say they'll never worry about money. They never give us cash outright, but for each of our kids' births they set aside 100K in an interest-bearing account for their college, and they have been extremely generous with the vacations they've taken us on. My spouse and I both have pretty good jobs, and while we have the security of knowing if we ever needed it, they'd help us, we are able to support our not very fancy lifestyle ourselves. This July we're going on a trip with our children and her family, including the nuclear families of her 2 siblings, and then a few family friends of theirs. Mother-in-law and father-in-law are paying for everything, including the flights, villa we're staying at, and various meals and activities. This will be the 5th vacation like this they've taken us on, not including our honeymoon they paid for. I never imagined being this close to that kind of wealth before, but I have to say they've been nothing but welcoming and generous with me, even offering me high-paying jobs I probably don't deserve and offering to pay for my grad school if I choose to go. My sister recently asked me what my summer plans were and if I had any trips. I told her about this one, and she got noticeably annoyed, jealous. She asked me why I've never asked about inviting her and her family, since other friends of the family get invited often to these big trips. Some have had 10-20 non-family members there that they hosted, paid for. To be honest, I never even thought about asking to include my relatives in that, but I feel like that would come off a little greedy, so I just don't. I told her that, and she thinks I'm being selfish. I think a lot of it is just jealousy, which I can understand because she's complained about never being to Europe, and it's splurging for her to just go on a regional vacation. I do feel like that is kinda totally unrelated to my situation though. It sounds like you're in a unique position with your spouse's family's generosity, and it's great that they've been so welcoming to you. Your sister's feelings are valid, but it's understandable that you may feel hesitant about asking for more given the circumstances. It's important to consider both perspectives and communicate openly with your sister about your boundaries and feelings to maintain a healthy relationship. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.